So, Hare Krishna, Mother, thank you very much for joining and keeping your appointment with Krishna today. Today is what, 9th of May 2026. So, discussion for today is from 5th canto, 17th chapter, 12. There are 24 verses in this chapter, but first half, that is up to 12, I will be discussing. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Naishtiki. मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्री नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय पुत्रश्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्याद पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाजी गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचे मां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयते किल शक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणतो गादीन् प्राणानमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं मुखं करोति वाचालं भङ्गं यति गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे प्रपादम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतलेश्वरी महाविष्णुस्वामिते नामने नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद. So Hare Krishna, Praise Mata. Thank you very much for joining. So I told you the chapter is 5th canto, 17th chapter. Just share the screen. Very important chapter, Ganga. So, as it is Bhagavad, so Ganga is the one which purifies, right? So everybody is aware of it. So now today we'll now come to know the descent of the river Ganges, how the river Ganges came into being, right? So the 12 verses will be there. It starts with, in the first verse, it says, Sukadeva Goswami is telling, my dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vaman Deva in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. We all know this episode, right? So then what happened? He extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. And through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as the Ganges River. So that's how, from there, so the origin of, so having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. So every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges, yet its water remains ever pure. Now, because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord, before descending within this universe, she is known as Vishnupadi. Later, she received other names like Jahnavi and Bhagirathi. After 1000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended to Dhruvaloka, the topmost planet in this universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupada, situated on the Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. So we'll discuss one by one. So the 17th chapter describes the origin of the Ganges river and how it flows in and around Ilavarta Varsha. I think in the 16th chapter we discussed, I think, a couple of weeks back, like Bharata Varsha, Ilavarta Varsha, and the different Varshas, 9 Varshas. So this chapter describing the origin of the Ganges river and how it flows in and around Ilavarta Varsha. And of course, after the 12th, the second half is a description of the prayers of Lord Shiva, which he offers to Lord Sankarsana, who is one of the quadruple expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here is Sukadeva Goswami is telling, my dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vaman Deva in the arena of sacrifice of Bali Maharaj. So what did he do there? He extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with what? Not any stick or anything, nothing, with the nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this power universe of the Ganges River. See, his nails are so powerful. Even Narasimhadeva, who killed Hiranyakashipu just with the nails. Right? See, Krishna, he states in Bhagavad Gita that one who understands the divine appearance and disappearance, right? The activities of Krishna, he does not come back to this material world. So, to enable us to meditate on his form and activities, Krishna appears in various incarnations in the material world and he performs various activities, right? So, from the scriptures, we hear that Krishna and his form are non different. And each limb of the Lord, it can do the action of all other limbs. And it's given in Brahma Samhita, right? 32 text 32, it is given. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. So, see, each limb of Lord Govinda, it possesses the function of all other limbs and are forever creating, maintaining, and annihilating of all the worlds. So, the Lord, he performs activities with various limbs in his various manifestations for what? To reveal the glories of each of his limbs. So, when we take the darshan of the Lord in the deity form, right, in the temple or at our homes, if we recollect, the various activities done by each limb of the Lord, our mind will become absorbed in the Lord's form. So, in case of like conditioned souls like us, right, everybody has nails. The Lord has also nails. But our nails, what we do? You can see, nowadays, so many decorations, beauty treatments are being done to the toenails, feet nails, and right. Pedicure, we say that. But in the case of the Lord, he does so many wonderful activities with his nails, feet nails and toenails, right? And their glories are very much appreciated by the devotees. And these are all given beautifully in the scriptures, elaborately. So, origin of the Ganges, correct? The scriptures, they tell us the water touched by nails, a finger or the feet, is considered impure. So, and then it is not fit for consumption. And also it cannot be offered to the deities for the Abhishekam. So if we consume water that is touched by nails, finger, feet, nails, whatever, if we on a regular basis, then what happens? Scriptures are telling one will lose the effulgence in the face. There is a very interesting episode in the Vishnu Purana. Once the Lord Krishna left to the spiritual world, right? So as per instructions of Krishna, Arjuna took all the wealth from Dwaraka and also the queens of Lord Krishna to Hastinapura. So what happened on the way? He was defeated easily by a group of local thieves, right? So he became dejected and he lost all his luster. And on the way, he met Vyasadeva, who asked him the cause of his despondency and asked whether he did a few things which are contrary to the instructions of scriptures, which caused him this lack of luster on his face. So one such thing which Vyasadeva asked him is, did you continuously drink water touched by nails, which caused you to lose your facial luster? So the scriptures advise that one should not touch the water with one's nails or pluck our nails and throw in the water because it will contaminate the water. Whereas in the case of the Supreme Lord Krishna, it is exactly the opposite. The water which has touched the nails of the Lord is purified by his touch and now celebrated in the world as Ganges, the great purifier. That's why in the first verse we saw, right? Well, Sukadeva Goswami is telling, my dear king, Lord Vishnu, right? He pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. And through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as Ganges River. So he said, having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with a reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. So Prabhupada says every living being can immediately purify his mind and material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Even then, its water remain always pure. So many sinful people take bath, so many, right? To wash off their sins. So what happens to the river Ganges? It still remains pure. So Prabhupada gives, in the purport, he says, in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami describes the glories of the Ganges river. The water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani, what water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani. That is deliverer of all sinful living beings. And it's a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease. And internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we saw that the Ganges emanated from the toenails of the Lord. So even today, the purity of Ganges water is practically seen. Right? So many people go to take bath in the Ganges. And in fact, for all the contaminations, everything being done, Ganges water has been retaining its purity. So, if the Ganges water is collected and stored in small containers or in bottles and all, no, it remains as it is for even years. Whereas if we keep a normal water for a long time, it starts stinking. Many scientists, they have done research in Ganges water and they observe that it has antiseptic properties. In the Vishnu Puran, the great sage Parashara Muni, he confirms how the Ganges purifies, right? And the reason for it. He says, the Ganges water purifies anyone who takes bath in her, who drinks the water, Ganges water, who touches it, who glorifies its water, who hears about its glories, and even one who makes fun of it also. They also get purified. So even people who live miles away from Ganges, Ganga, no, if they just chant the names Ganga, Ganga, it destroys the sins committed in the 3 lifetimes. So this Ganges purifies all the 3 worlds because it has emanated from the toenail of Lord Vishnu. That's why in this purport, first purport, no, Prabhupada says, throughout India, many thousands of people live on the banks of the Ganges. And by regularly bathing in her waters, they are undoubtedly being purified both spiritually and materially. See, many sages, Prabhupada says, including Shankaracharya, they have composed prayers in the praise of the Ganges. And the land of India itself has become glorious because such rivers as Ganges, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, and Narmada, they flow there. So anyone living on the land adjacent to these rivers is naturally advanced in spiritual consciousness. So when Mother Ganges descended into this material world, her force was so much, no one could bear it. So Lord Shiva was pleased by the presence of Bhagirath, offered to bear Ganges water on his head. And because of this, he got the glorious name as Gangadhara. See, Lord Shiva is already glorious because he is the topmost Vaishnava. Vaishnava Nam Yata Shambhu. And also the deity in charge of universal destruction, right? So Prabhupada, he states in purport of 3:28:22, by his constitutional position, Lord Shiva is always great and auspicious. But since he has accepted on his head the Ganges river, the Ganges water, which emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord, he has become even more auspicious and important. So the Lord's feet nails bring glory to even great personalities who are already glorious. In Bhagavatam 1:18:21, it confirms this. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead is Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. So this very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. I think I will share one. That is with regard to the first verse, right? So enjoy. Now so here, Sukadeva glorifies describe the glories of the Ganges river. Patita Pavani we saw, right? See, externally his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease. And internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude towards women. So that's what Prabhupada says. Shankaracharya is composed in the... And in Madhvacharya also says, Varahe Vama Padam tu tad anyeshu tu dakshinam Padam kalpeshu Bhagavan Ujjahara Trivikrama. Standing on his right foot and extending his left to the edge of the universe, Lord Vamana became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds. See, the verses are just a prose, right? So the second verse, Dhruva Maharaj, the famous son of Maharaj Uttanapada, is known as the most exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord because of his firm determination in executing devotional service. So, knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Now, Dhruva Maharaj, situated on his own planet, to this still day, accepts that water on his head with great devotion. And because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly within the core of his heart, he is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. So tears flow from his half open eyes and eruptions appear on his entire body. So, see, when a person is firmly fixed in devotional service, right, he is described as Veera Vrata, fully determined. So, Dhruva Maharaj was fully determined. So, such a devotee, he increases his ecstasy in devotional service more and more. When you're absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then definitely when you're fully determined, so we should have the determination just like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhrida right? So as soon as he remembers Lord Vishnu, his eyes fill with tears. So this is a symptom of Mahabhagavata. So Dhruva Maharaj, he maintained himself in that devotional ecstasy. And also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave us this practical example, right, of the transcendental ecstasy when he lived in Jagannath Puri. His pastimes are very beautifully narrated in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The third verse, Prabhupada says, the seven great rishis, like Marichi, Vashishta, they reside on the planets beneath Dhruvaloka. So they were well aware of the influence of the water of Ganges. So till now, they keep Ganges water, no, the seven rishis, Sapta rishis, they keep the Ganges water on the tufts of the hair on their heads. Because they have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. So, having obtained this uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, they neglect all other beneficial things, right? Like religion, economic development, sense gratification, even merging with the Brahmajyoti, right? Just as Gyanis think that merging into existence of Lord is the highest truth. So these Saptarishis, they are exalted personalities. No? They accept devotional service as the perfection of life. See, transcendentalists are divided into two primary groups. Nirvisheshavadis. Nirvisheshavadis means impersonalists. And bhaktas or devotees. Now, the impersonalists, no, they do not accept the spiritual varieties of life. They don't. They want to merge into the Brahman feature. But devotees, they desire to take part in the transcendental activities of the Lord. So, in the upper planetary system, the topmost planet is the Dhruvaloka. And beneath Dhruvaloka, there are the seven planets occupied by these sages, great sages. Marichi, Vashishta, and Atri. So, all these sages, they regard devotional service as the highest perfection of life. So, they all carry the holy water of the Ganges on their heads, the tuft of the hair, right? So, this verse proves that for one who has achieved the platform of pure devotional service, nothing else is important. Even the so-called liberation, no? They say the word Kaivalya. So Sridhara Swami, he states that only by achieving pure devotional service of the Lord, no, one can give up all other engagements as insignificant. And even Prabodhananda Saraswati confirms in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has perfectly initiated and broadcast the process of Bhakti Yoga. Consequently, for one who has taken shelter in the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the highest perfection of Mayavadi is Kaivalya, or becoming one with the Supreme. This is considered as hellish. Even karmis aspire to be promoted to heavenly planets. That is also not good. So devotees consider such goals to be worthless. Prabhupada uses the word as phantasmagoria. Imagination, right? Goals to be worthless. So there are two also yogis, right? Who try to control their senses, but they can never succeed without coming to the stage of devotional service. Because the senses are compared to poisonous snakes. But the senses of a bhakta, who is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, They are like the snakes with their poisonous fangs removed. So the yogis tries to suppress his senses. But even great mystics, like Vishwamitra, he failed in his attempt. He was conquered by his senses when he was captivated by Menaka during his meditation. And she later gave birth to Shakuntala. So the wisest persons in the world, therefore, are Bhakti yogis. As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatenantaratma atmana shraddhavan bhajate yamam samay samay yukta tamo matah. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Who says this? Krishna says. Now in the fourth verse, Prabhupada says, after purifying the seven planets near Dhruvaloka, the pole star, right? Dhruvaloka is also known as pole star. The Ganges water is carried through the spaceways of the demigods in billions of celestial airplanes. Then it inundates the moon, Chandraloka, and finally reaches Lord Brahma's abode atop Mount Meru. See, we should always remember that the Ganges river comes from the causal ocean. Good, because from the toenails it appears, no? So from the causal ocean, it came. So after the water of the causal ocean leaks through the hole created by Lord Vamanadeva, it flows down to Dhruvaloka, the pole star, and then to the seven planets beneath Dhruvaloka. Please, you can just visualize, right? Then it is carried to the moon by the innumerable celestial airplanes. Then it falls to the top of Mount Meru, which is known as Sumeru Parvata. So in this way, the water of the Ganges finally reaches the lower planets and the peaks of the Himalayas. And from there, it flows through Hardwar and throughout the plains of India, purifying the entire land. How the Ganges reaches various planets from the top of the universe is explained, right? So celestial airplanes carry the water from the planets of the sages, Saptarishis, to the other planets. The so-called advanced scientists, Prabhupada says, of this age, they are trying to go to higher planets. But it's not possible, right? If you are actually capable, they could have personally gone by airplane to other planets. But this is not possible. So now they are even given moon excursions. They want to go to other planets, but there's no success. Now, on top of the Mount Meru, the Ganges divides into four branches, each of which gushes in a different direction: east, west, north, and south. Now, these branches, known by the names Sita, Alaknanda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, they flow down to the ocean. Now, I'll show this screen with the. Yeah, better seeing the one. So this is how the Jambu Dvipa, right? So in the center we see Meru, then Nilavarta, Harivarsha, Kimpursha, Bharat, Bhadrasham. So now, see the branch of the Ganges known as Sita flows through Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru. Okay. And you can see the center, right? Mount Meru is there. From there, it runs down to the nearby peaks of the Kesarachala mountains, which stand almost as high as Mount Meru itself. Okay. These mountains are like a bunch of filaments around Mount Meru. Now, from Kesarachala mountains, the Ganges falls to the peak of Gandhamadana mountain and then flows into the land of Bhadrashava Varsha. You can see in the east, right? Finally, it reaches the ocean of salt water in the east. Bhadrashava, you can see, right? That is there. Then the four division, right? Sita. Now the branch of the Ganges is known as Chakshu. It falls on the summit of Malayavan mountain and from there cascades onto the land of Ketumala Varsha. You can see the west side, Ketumala. So Ganges flows eastward through Keshumala Varsha. In this way also reaches the ocean of salt water in the west. Now, the branch of the Ganges known as Bhadra, it flows from the northern side of Mount Meru. So its water fall onto the peaks of Kumuda Mountain, Mount Nila, Shweta Mountain, and Shringavan Mountain in succession, right? Then it runs down into the province of Kuru, and after crossing through that land, flows into the saltwater ocean in the north. Similarly, the branch of the Ganges known as Alaknanda flows from the southern side of Brahmapuri. So passing over the tops of mountains in various lands, it falls down with fierce force upon the peaks of the mountain Hemakuta and Himakuta. So after inundating the tops of those mountains, the Ganges falls down onto the tract of land known as Bharatavarsha. You can see Bharatavarsha, right? The last one, the bottom. So it's like that, it's coming down. So it calls to Bharat, which is also, so she also indents. So then the Ganges flows in the ocean of Saltwater in the south. So persons who come to bathe in this river are fortunate. It is not very difficult for them to even achieve. See, to achieve with every step, if you take bath in the Ganges, you can achieve of performing great sacrifices like Rajasuya and Ashwamedha Yajnas. See, the place where the Ganges flows into the salt water of the Bay of Bengal is still known as Ganga Sagara, or the meeting place of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal. And in Ganga Sagara, right, even Kapila Muni is still there. His ashram is there. See, on Makar Sankranti, in the month of January, February, thousands of people still go there and to take bath. And they hoping to get liberated. That they can actually be liberated in this way is confirmed. See, for those who bathe in the Ganges at any time, the results of great sacrifices like Ashwamedha and Rajasuya Yajna are not at all difficult to achieve. So most people in India are still inclined to bathe in the Ganges. And there are many places where they can do so. At Prayag, Allahabad, right? Many thousands of people gather during the month of January to bathe in the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna. Afterwards, many of them go to the confluence of Bay of Bengal and Ganges to take bath there. So it's a special facility for all the people of India that they can bathe in the water of Ganges at so many places of pilgrimage. Now, worldwide people come, right? We had Kumbh Mela, right? So many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru. So these rivers are like daughters of the mountain, and they flow to various tracts of land in hundreds of branches. So among the 9 Varshas, right, the tract of land known as Bharata Varsha is understood to be the field of fruitive activities. So learned scholars or saintly persons, right, declare that the other 8 Varshas to be meant for very highly elevated pious persons. After returning from the heavenly planets, they enjoy the remaining results of their pious activities in these 8 earthly Varshas. See, in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely says, the heavenly places of enjoyment. Okay, everybody wants to Swargaloka Jana, right? The heavenly places of enjoyment are divided into 3 groups. The celestial heavenly planets, the heavenly places on earth, and the Bila heavenly places, Bila heaven, which are found in the lower regions. Among these 3 classes of heavenly places, Bhauma Swarga Padani, the heavenly places on the earth, are the 8 Varshas other than Bharata Varsha. So in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Krishna says, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. See, when the persons living in the heavenly planets, when they exhaust the results of their pious activities, they return to this earth. In this way, they are elevated to the heavenly planets, and then they again fall into the earthly planets. So this process is known as Brahmanda Brahmana, wandering up and down through the universe. So those who are intelligent, that means those who are not lost their intelligence, right? They do not involve themselves in this process of wandering up and down. See, pious activity, go to higher planets, come down, again come down after finishing that, again go. So they take to devotional service of the Lord so that ultimately they penetrate the covering of this universe and enter the spiritual kingdom. Then they are situated on one of the planets known as Vaikunta, or still higher, Krishna Loka, Golokavta. So a devotee is never caught in the process of being promoted to the heavenly planets and again coming down. That's why Shadar Mahaprabhu says हे रूप ब्रह्मांड भ्रमिते कौन कौन भाग्यवान जीव गुरु कृष्ण प्रसादे पाया भक्ति लता बीज. So among all the living entities wandering throughout the universe, one is most fortunate. No, he comes in contact with the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus gets the opportunity to execute devotional service. Very nice purpose. I just read out from that. See, those who are sincerely seeking the favor of Krishna, if anybody wants the favor of Krishna, right? Those who are sincerely seeking the favor of Krishna come in contact with a guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. See, the Mayavadi is indulging in mental speculation and the karma is desiring results of their actions. They cannot become gurus. The guru must be a direct representative of Krishna who distributes the instructions of Krishna without any change. So thus only the most fortunate persons come in contact with Guru. As confirmed in the Vedic literature, Tad Vijnanartham Sagurum Eva Gachet. One has to search out a guru to understand the affairs of the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this point. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttama. One who is very interested in understanding the activities in the spiritual world must search out a guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. See, from all angles of vision, right? Guru, the word guru is especially meant for the bona fide representative of Krishna and no one else. Padma Purana states, a Vaishnava Guru na syat. One who is not a Vaishnava or who is not a representative of Krishna cannot be a guru. Even the most qualified Brahmana cannot become a guru if he is not a representative of Krishna. See, Brahmanas are supposed to acquire 6 kinds of auspicious qualifications. They become very learned scholars, Patana. Very qualified teachers, Patana. They become expert in worshipping the Lord or the demigods, Yajana. They teach others how to execute this worship, Yajana. They qualify themselves as bona fide persons to receive alms from others, Partigraha. And they distribute the wealth in charity, Dana. Yet, even a Brahmana possessing these qualifications cannot become a guru unless he is a representative of Krishna. Guru Nasyat. Vaishnava Shopacho Guruhu. But a Vaishnava, a bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, can become a guru even if he is a Shopacha. Shopacha means member of a family of dog eaters. So, of the 3 divisions of heavenly planets, Swargaloka, Bhauma Swarga, right? The Bhauma Swarga is sometimes accepted as the tract of land in Bharatavarsha, known as Kashmir. In this region, there are certainly good facilities for mental sense enjoyment. But this is not the business of a pure transcendentalist. Rupa Goswami describes the engagement of a pure transcendentalist as Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavartam, Anukulyena Krishnanu, Sheelanam Bhaktir Uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain. Which is through fruitivities of philosophical speculation, right? So this is called pure devotional service. That is, one should render transcendental loving service to Supreme Lord Krishna favorably. So those who fully engage in devotional service to Krishna, just to please Krishna, are not interested in these 3 divisions of heavenly places, namely Divya Swarga, Bhauma Swarga, and Bila Swarga. So in these 8 Varshas, apart from the Bharat Varsha, human beings, the higher planetary systems, right? Human beings live 10,000 years according to earthly calculations. All the inhabitants are almost like demigods. They have the body strength of 10,000 elephants. Their bodies are sturdy as thunderbolts. The youthful duration of their lives is very pleasing. And both men and women, they enjoy sexual union with great pleasure for a long time. After years of sensual pleasure, when a balance of 1 year of life remains, the wife conceives a child. Thus, the standard of pleasure for the residents of these heavenly regions is exactly like that of human beings who lived during Treta Yuga. See, there are 4 yugas, right? Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Now, during the first Yuga, Satyuga, people were very pious. Everyone practiced the mystic Yuga for spiritual understanding and the realization of God, right? So, everyone was always absorbed in Samadhi. No one was interested in material sense enjoyment in Satyuga. Now, during Treta Yuga, people enjoyed sense pleasure without tribulations. No reactions. Material miseries began in Dwapar Yuga. but they were not very stringent. Now, stringent mental miseries really began from the advent of Kali Yuga. So, another point in this verse, the 12th verse, is that in all the eight of these heavenly Varshas, although men and women enjoy sex pleasure, there is no pregnancy. Pregnancy takes place only in the lower grade life, right? For example, animals like dogs and hogs, they become pregnant twice a year. And each time they beget at least half a dozen offspring. Even lower species of life, such as snakes, give birth to hundreds of young one at one time. So this verse informs us, the 12th verse, that in grades of higher life than ours, pregnancy occurs in once in only a lifetime. People still have sex life, but there is no pregnancy in the higher planets. So in the spiritual world, people are not very attracted to sex life due to their exalted devotional attitude. Practically speaking, there is no sex life in the spiritual world. But even if sometimes it does occur, there is no pregnancy at all. On the earth planet, however, human beings do become pregnant. Although the tendency is to avoid having children. In this sinful age of life, Kali, people have even taken to the process of killing the child in the womb. So this is the most degraded practice. It can only perpetuate the miserable mental conditions of those who perform it. So Kapil Deva explains in the Bhagavatam 3:28 and 21. So we should meditate on the nails of the Lord, right? Because through the nails, when he pierced the universe, the river Ganges flows. So how to meditate on the Lord's form, and while teaching the meditation on the Lord's lotus feet, Kapil Deva states the effulgence of Lord's nails. And this effulgence from the nails of Lord, it destroys the ignorance of devotee's heart, in the devotee's heart. So he says, the devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a gourd, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon. Right, when the moon, when it's shining, you see the beautiful, dispels the thick gloom of one's heart. In Bhagavad Gita 10.10, the first seed verse, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, right? Lord states that for devotees who serve him with love, he destroys the darkness born of ignorance in their heart by the lamp of transcendental knowledge. Now the question arises, what is that lamp of knowledge that the Lord uses? The answer is, the Lord just manifests the luster of his toenails, and it dissipates the ignorance in a devotee's heart or even a yogi's heart. So the Lord's toenails are constituted of transcendental knowledge, and they radiate knowledge. So when the Lord reveals a fraction of this effulgence, the devotee or even the yogi, they are enlightened. The Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse, 3:28-21, the luster of his toenails, which are brilliantly prominent, resembles the light of the moon. If a yogi looks upon the marks of the Lord's soul and on the blazing brilliance of his nails, then he can be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. The liberation is not achieved by mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. So one has to fix his mind first on the lotus feet of the Lord if he wants to be freed from the darkness of ignorance in the material existence. So just like a yogi meditates on the Lord's toenails within his heart, the devotees are advised to meditate on the toenails of the Lord's deity form. And this will gradually remove the ignorance. See, for aspiring devotees like us, one more way of meditating on the Lord's toenail is explained in Bhagavatam 4:24-52. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower, which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. See, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, very important for all of us to understand this. Please hear very carefully. The first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam are called the two lotus feet of the Lord. It is therefore suggested by Lord Shiva that one should first try to see the lotus feet of the Lord. This also means that if one is serious about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he must begin seriously studying the first and second cantos. To see the Lord from within, from within, he enlightens the devotees by the effulgence of the nails of his lotus feet. And his representative spiritual master, they enlightened from outside. See, once one of my god brother, he asked Guru Maharaj, he said, Maharaj, there are so many doubts in the scriptural conclusions. How to understand them? Because just enter the Krishna consciousness, right? So before that, so Maharaj, he also said, what to speak of you? He said, even I used to have so many questions before I came in touch with Prabhupada's books. Maharaj used to say, I used to go to a Vedic bookshop in London and used to buy many books on Vedic knowledge and read. But still, I had many unanswered questions. Only when I read the first and second cantos of Bhagavatam, all of my queries were answered. So, seriously studying the first and second cantos of Bhagavatam is equivalent to meditating on the Lord's feet adorned by the beautiful nails. So, in addition to regularly seeing the Lord's feet nails in his deity form, if one reads the first and second canto of the Bhagavatam, then one can get gradually free from all ignorance in his heart. See, in our case, our toenails can cause a lot of suffering to us, right? If we get severe disease such as nail deformation, fungus, right? All these things. But from the scriptures, we find Lord's form is constituted of bliss and consciousness. Ananda Chinmaya. Here, therefore, his nails always emit transcendental bliss. Our nails will not give any transcendental bliss. So when the Lord showers this bliss on his devotee from within the heart, all his sufferings are removed. That's the Bhagavata Purana 11:254 says how the Lord's nails remove our suffering. How can the fire of material suffering continue to burn the hearts of those who worship the Supreme Lord? It cannot. The Lord's lotus feet have performed innumerable heroic deeds, and the beautiful nails on his toes, removable, resemble the valuable jewels. So the effulgence emanating from those nails resembles cooling moonshine, because it instantly relieves the suffering within the heart of the pure devotees, just as the appearance of the moon's cooling light relieves the burning heat of the sun. In the purport, when the moon rises, the expansion of its rays drives away the distress of the sun's fierce heat. Similarly, the cooling rays emanating from the lotus nails of the personality of Godhead, his lotus feet, it vanquishes all the distress for the Lord's pure devotees. The pure devotees of the Lord, no? They place the Lord's cooling, jewel-like lotus feet within their hearts. And thus all the pain and suffering of material existence are extinguished. So that is the reason. When we take darshan of the deities and meditate on the Lord's lotus feet, one can experience a relief in the mind, at least during the time of darshan, if you are sincerely having the darshan. So this shloka answers the rays of bliss from the Lord's lotus feet nails. It does the removal of the sufferings. In fact, see, a great devotee named Narayana Bhattatari, he composed a beautiful Sanskrit work called Narayaniyam, glorifying the beauty of Lord Krishna in Guruvayur. So at the end of his work, he glorifies the Lord from his lotus feet up to the crown. So there he summarizes how the Lord's nails remove the ignorance and suffering from the heart of the worshippers. He says, I meditate upon the auspicious row of your toes and the upraised, purple, tinted, crescent-shaped nails, the moon-like radiance emanating from which dispels the darkness of ignorance and suffering in the minds of your devotees. So many Shastras is giving the same. So powerful. So when you go to temple or in your own home, if you are deities, see the lotus feet, the nails in the lotus feet. We find in the 10th canto of Bhagavad Purana that Kamsa, no, he sent many demons to kill Lord Krishna, but they were all killed by the Lord. So finally, Kamsa planned to invite Lord Krishna and Balarama to Mathura, so that he can destroy them there itself. So what did he do? He summoned Akrura and asked him to go to Vrindavana and bring Krishna and Balarama to Mathura. Now see, Akrura, now he's not thinking of, okay, I will go and bring to kill. See the mind of Akrura. Akrura was very much happy to hear this because now he got a chance to see Lord Krishna in person and get his association. He's a great devotee. So on the way to Vrindavana, Akrura was meditating. He was meditating on the Lord's form and how he will have the darshan of Lord Krishna and how the Lord will embrace him. He was all thinking right on the way. His main meditation was on the Lord's lotus feet, right? So he said to himself, today all my sinful reactions have been eradicated and my birth has become worthwhile, since I will offer my obeisance to Supreme Lord's lotus feet, which mystic yogis meditate upon for so many years. And those lotus feet are worshipped by Brahma, Shiva, and all of the demigods, by the goddess of fortune, also the great sages and Vaishnavas. So theirs are the same feet that great mystic yogis striving for self-realization they're bearing in their minds. So Akrura felt so much ecstasy. He thought, see what Akrura thought not. He thought Kamsa to be his true well-wisher, who has showed his mercy on him by sending him to Vrindavana. The reason for his ecstasy was the remembrance of Lord's lotus feet, nails and lotus feet. So Akrura explained, glorifying Kamsa. In Bhagavatam 10:38-7, Akrura says, indeed, today King Kamsa has shown me extreme mercy by sending me to see the lotus feet of the Lord Hari, who has now appeared in this world. Simply by the effulgence of his toenails, many souls in the past have transcended the insurmountable darkness of material existence and achieved liberation. So Srila Prabhupada, he states in the Krishna book, Akrura also considered that he was very much favored by Kamsa, who was sending him to bring back Krishna and Balrama, and thus enabling him to see the Lord. So Akrura continued to consider that formerly great sages and saintly persons, they were liberated from the material world simply by seeing the shining nails of the lotus feet of Krishna. See the words Ati Anugraham. One is Anugraham. Ati Anugraham is extreme mercy, which means the Lord's nails were so attractive that Akrura forgot Kamsa to be a demonic person and thought him to be a devotee who showered mercy on him and taken him close to Krishna. Right? So he became like a spiritual master. Right? A spiritual master who takes one to Krishna, spiritual master, right? But here he thinks like that. So according to this verse, we see that it is not needed to have a darshan of the Lord's form completely. It is enough even if one takes the darshan of Lord's feet nails constantly and develop attraction to the Lord's feet nails. The
ಬೇಕಾ
spiritual intelligence,
ನೀತಾ ಏನೋ ಬಚ್ಚಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ
please mute yourself. Hare Krishna, sorry. That's what happens now if you speak in between, the flow goes and. So the spiritual effulgence, from those nails can take us above the darkness and back to the spiritual world. So this relation of Akrura also reveals that each limb of the Lord is identical with the Lord. So one can get the result of seeing the complete Lord's form just by meditating on his transcendental effulgent nails, feet nails. So we saw how Akrura was excited to see Lord Krishna and meditated on his form and every limb. See, there is a very popular saying in English. The eve is more important than the event. The eve is more important than the event. See, when some exciting event is about to happen, in our life, the moments before it happens is very thrilling. Actually, more exciting than the actual event. And it gives us a great happiness. See, for example, if we are on the way to meet some great personality, on our journey to meet him, that itself, right, will experience great thrill. Correct. So in the same way, Akrura experienced great spiritual thrill on his way to Vrindavana when he meditated on the Lord's lotus feet and nails. See, pure devotees experience great transcendental bliss in seeing the Lord in person and his feet nails. It immerses them in great bliss. In the great Devatas, worship the Lord's lotus feet by touching the feet nails with their head. So Srila Rupa Goswami states, the bliss of Narada Muni while seeing the toe and feet nails of the Lord in nectar of devotion. So seeing the toenails of Krishna, which were touched by the tip of the crown of the repentant Brahma after he stole the cowherd boys, Narada Muni lost control of himself in great bliss and began to lament greatly for his fellow sages who had attained impersonal liberty. He said, why people are taking impersonal? Why they have lost something very wonderful here? He was lamenting for them. Narada Muni is completely beyond the attraction of this world and indifferent to the happiness of this world. But he experienced great spiritual bliss by seeing the Lord's feet nails. We also see that the Lord's nails are worshipped in great reverence by Lord Brahma, who is the creator of this universe and more infinitely glorious, right? So the Lord's feet nails, which are worshipped by the Devatas, offers great spiritual thrill and spiritual bliss to the devotees. So far we have been meditating on the various glories of the Lord's feet nails. And one important glory is that they are the goal of all knowledge. So even a person is learned in all the scriptures, if it does not develop the attraction for the Lord's lotus feet, which are beautified by the feet nails, then the knowledge is said to be incomplete. So this, see, Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, he expresses the humble mood of Uddhava in the shloka in the Nectar of Devotion, right? He says, though my eyes are praised because of seeing so many scriptures, they are unfortunate. Because they do not see the wealth of sweetness in the form of the effulgence emanating from the toenails of your feet, of your lotus feet. So I do not see any value in my eyes. If you see only under the scriptures and everything else, but not the toenails, then it's of no use. So here we can see that Uddhava is lamenting out of his humility, that he is unable to see the effulgence of Lord's nails in spite of all his knowledge. See, the scriptures are very powerful. They require illuminating commentaries of great acharyas, so that by reading them, one can understand the Lord's personal form and glory of his transcendental limbs. That's what Srila Prabhupada is giving us. The glory of each of the Lord's limb is infinite. Only through the scriptures explained by pure devotees, we can appreciate them to some extent. So by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Lord's form in sound, in the association of devotees, one can remain focused on the lotus feet of the Lord. In 4:24:52 purport, Prabhupada says, when a devotee wants to see the transcendental form of the Lord, he begins his meditation on the Lord's body by first looking at the feet of the Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the transcendental sound form of the Lord. And the 12 cantos are divided in accordance with the transcendental form of the Lord. The first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are called the two lotus feet of the Lord. So when one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. So reading Bhagavatam first and second cantos can vanquish. So Srila Prabhupada, he commented on the Bhagavata Purana, which is not different from the Lord's transcendental form, and also established centers all over the world where people can discuss on this great literature, meditate on the Lord's lotus feet, and achieve the highest perfection of life, Krishna Prema. So when one attains this Prema, one is transferred to the spiritual world by Vaikuntha, where all the pure devotees of the Lord are eternally seeing and glorifying the Lord's lotus feet with beautiful nails. And this is stated in the Rig Veda. The liberated souls always see the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in the highest spiritual abode as they are endowed with divine eyes. Those fully enlightened beings who are always awake glorify the Lord's lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, who is stationed in the supreme abode. Let us all pray at the lotus feet of Guru, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, so that we get attraction for the Lord's lotus feet and the beautiful nails and the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in summary, let us try to see. So this 17th chapter of Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 17th chapter, describes the origin of the Ganges river and how it flows in and around Ilavarta Varsha. See, the Lord appeared before him as Trivikrama, right? When the Lord Vishnu approached Bali Maharaj when he was performing sacrifice, Vamana, and begged alms from the king in the form of 3 steps of land. So with 2 steps, he covered all the 3 planetary systems. And he pierced the covering of the universe with the toes of his left foot. And then a few drops of water from the causal ocean, it leaked through this hole and fell on the head of Lord Shiva, where they remained for 1000 millenniums. And these drops of water are the sacred Ganges river. It first flows onto the heavenly planets, which are located on the soles of Lord Vishnu's feet. The Ganges river is known by many names: Bhagirath, Jahnavi. It purifies Dhruvaloka and the planets of the 7 sages. Now, Ganges river, emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, it inundates the heavenly planets especially the moon, and then flows through the Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru. You can visualize, right, where is Mount Meru from. Here the river divides into 4 branches, known as Sita, Alaknanda, Chakshu, and Bhadra. Now, which then flow down to the ocean of salt water. So the branch known as Sita flows through Shekhara Parvata and Gandham Madana Parvata, then flows down to Bhadrashva Varsha, where it mixes with the ocean of salt water in the east. Chakshu branch flows through Malayamangiri. After reaching Ketumala Varsha, mixes with the ocean of salt water in the west. Branch known as Bhadra flows onto Mount Meru, Mount Kumuda, and Neela, Shweta, and Shingavan mountains before it reaches Kurudesha, where it flows into the ocean of salt water in the north. Then Alaknanda branch flows through the Brahmalaya, crosses over many mountains, including Hemakuta and Himakuta, then reaches Bharatavarsha, where it flows into the southern side of the ocean of salt water. So many other rivers, the branches flow through the 9 Varshas. So the tract of land known as Bharatavarsha is the field of activities. We are in Bharatavarsha. And other 8 Varshas are for persons who are meant to enjoy heavenly comfort. So in each of these 8 beautiful provinces, the celestial denizens, Prabhupada says, enjoy various standards of material comfort and pleasure. A different incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God distributes his mercy in each of these 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa. In the Ilavata Varsha, Lord Shiva is the only male. There he lives with his wife Bhavani, who is attended by many maidservants. Now, if any other male enters that province, Bhavani curses him to become a woman. Lord Shiva worships Lord Shankarsana by offering various prayers, one of which is, "My dear Lord, please liberate all your devotees from material life and bind all the non-devotees to the material world. Without your mercy, no one can be released from the bondage of material existence." So these prayers of Lord Shiva will come from the 17th verse in this chapter. That will be taken the next week. So I stop here. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to glorify Lord and meditate on the lotus feet, toenails of Krishna, and also to the Ganges. So Hare Krishna, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Shintai Gop. Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Anantapuri Vaishnavam ki jai. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna. Thank you for this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna,
Dandavat
Prabhuji,
Pranam.
Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhu, about this Ganga water, I remember last year